for today is called Living by Your Personal Rhythms. And this is one of my favorite things to talk about because it's so easy for us to get caught up in other people's rhythms, especially if you got a boss or a bossy partner or, are just used to following others. It's easy to get outside your own way of being in the world. And I was very lucky in the fact that many things I tried to do as a young man, I failed at. Now, you may say, lucky for failing? And yes, because it forced me to take a powerful look at how I was navigating life. Because the ways I was doing it, according to the way, like using pros and cons lists and being logical and taking those kinds of steps that are strategic and all those kinds of things that work for many people, none of that worked for me. And so it forced me to find a new way of being in life that maybe I had not tried before. So one of the things I did was I actually went out to a cabin in the woods, in the middle of the woods, where I was totally by myself for 2 years, where all I did was look at how to navigate, how I needed to find my own personal way of being in the world, and thereby through that, find a way to navigate life that would actually work. And this is what I came up with. That our teaching is incredibly powerful when it comes to how we navigate. That within each of us is a power greater than any strategic plan.
Come back, come back.
Deeper within myself, I discovered a voice, a guide, a GPS that when I listened to, no matter how the logic, no matter how the strategic plan, no matter what things looked like, has for me built a life that I could have never imagined possible. That it was from stopping, looking out there at whatever the results were, and started looking in here at what was my next step to do. The question I constantly ask myself is, what is mine to do now? Is this mine to do now? That next step always, always, always comes up, bubbles up from within me, not based on what's going on out here, but from some higher place within ourselves. And since I have been willing to follow that, I have had the most extraordinary results I have ever imagined. As I say, I was in this cabin in the woods. I was called out because Reverend Linda called me up and said, hey, she could use some help up in Cincinnati. And was I willing to do that, even on an interim basis? And so even though there was no security, there was no sense of what would happen next after that, I moved from Asheville up to Cincinnati to support her through that process at that time because my inner self said that was my next step to do. And so without any logic, with no money in the bank, without having any idea how this would work out, I moved up to Cincinnati. I worked with Linda. We moved through the transitional period. That ended. And then I was sitting in this apartment in Cincinnati, again, with very little money in the bank, having no idea what I was going to do next. And every time I asked my inner self, what was mine to do, which would make sense to go job hunting, to go out, to pound the pavement because I was running out of money, rent was due, I wanted to eat. My inner voice said, do your practice only. Take no steps besides doing your practice. So every day, all I did, because I decided here I was at a point where either I was going to trust this stuff or not. Either I was going to believe in that inner voice within me or not. And I decided I'm going for it. Even if I wind up homeless here, I'm going for it. And knowing that it works. This stuff really works. And so I dug down, and every day I sat in meditation. I went for my spiritual walks. I went and did yoga. I ate really healthily. I stayed in a spiritual space all day, and I did nothing to find work. One day, I wake up with the most amazing dream. The dream was about an online center, which we called Yana. I had a second dream that same night about writing a book called Exploding with creativity around this. I made very few phone calls to people to tell them about my idea, and every single person I spoke to said, I turned around and knew it. I had my money set for the rest of the year because I waited, I stayed with what was true to myself, and I allowed it to come out in this most amazing way. I was paid for my first book, and somebody paid me to write it. I was paid to start this center. And all of a sudden, there was income. Lots of it. Enough of it to support myself easily. By staying in that place of knowing. It is a powerful place. What happened next was I met this woman on Facebook. One day, I'm just looking at my news feed, and there's this video, so vulnerable and so courageous. And I'm going, who is this person? And I go to her page, and I see her. There's a picture of her sitting on a beach. And under the caption, it says, look how beautiful the beach is. And all I could think to myself is, she's way prettier than the beach. You guys are frozen again. So I have no idea once again, saying, hey, you're way prettier on the beach. In less than a minute, she messaged me back. Hours a day, and that woman is now my wife. Now, she lived in California. I told myself I was never going to live in California, but that was my logical small side. My inner side said, yes, move out there. So without any work and without any knowing how it was going to work out, I moved out to California. And within 2 years, was offered the job of running the Burbank Spirit Works Center for Spiritual Living in Burbank, California, which I now run. It's just amazing what's possible when you stop pros and cons lists, when you stop looking at logic and instead dig into that place inside you that is speaking to you all the time, telling you when to rest, telling you when to take action from that centered, higher place within you. There is nothing more powerful than that, and you have it within you. Each of us is here to contribute to life. Each of us has a unique reason for being. Each of us has the power within us to guide us to that place. I highly encourage you to take the time, no matter, and I'll tell you something else. It doesn't matter how young you are. It doesn't matter how old you are. You could be 10, you could be 100. If you're still breathing, there's more for you to do here, and your higher self is guiding you to do it. Take the time to listen. There's always more to contribute. There's always more to do. We are powerful, creative, spiritual beings. And it is our birthright to contribute and give and have this wonderful, magnificent, creative life that is ours to have. I love you. Thank you. And I hope you got that.